Hello, hello. Deborah Roth here. Again, experimenting outside, this time at my mom's house up in Mystic, Connecticut, hoping we don't have too much noise. So, delighted to be back with another installation in my Inner Goddess Team video series. This week, it's an Egyptian goddess who is a kind of a big deal for many reasons, and you'll hear why in a moment. Her name is Seshat. I think that's how you pronounce it. And she was the goddess, the Egyptian goddess of writing, measurement, architecture, record keeping, reading. She was known, let's see, she was a goddess in her own right, and she's actually the only Egyptian goddess that's shown, all the depictions of her are shown actually writing. And she had a very important part in every type of writing, both in the mortal realm, in the celestial realm, and in the afterlife as well. So she was pretty powerful. She's sometimes presented as the wife or the daughter, the consort of Thoth, who was the Egyptian god who apparently she was the one. So one of the stories says that invented the idea of writing, and he was the one that taught it to the masses, that taught it to the people. So they worked well together that way. She had many roles. She was considered a scribe to the pharaohs, and she recorded all of their achievements and their triumphs, and including, both the booty that they got from their different battles and conquerings and captives. And she also was, and actually some of her, you can see, I've got two different representations of her. One is kind of a color one, and she's holding a stylus or a palm frond. She has, if you can see, kind of interesting, one of her other roles was a cannabis cultivator. I didn't find that on too many sites, but if you look at her crown, it's a 7-pointed leaf, and it was said in this one source that I found that she taught people how to use its healing qualities for reducing anxiety, for inducing sleep, for stress reduction. Kind of amazing. And inverted horns, that's what's on top, what you see on top of the cannabis leaves. So she really, she as a scribe, she also helped humankind to document what was important in their lives, and then at their death, it would enable them. They would be able to look at their the book of death and what they were able to carry with them into the afterlife. I'm kind of balancing a couple things here because I don't have my usual things. She was the mistress of the house of books, the mistress of libraries, and libraries were really vital. They were very important institutions in Egypt, and that most of the hieroglyphics that were produced were in the library in what they called the House of Life, which was a place that was not only where all these important sacred texts were kept, but also that scribes and scholars would gather and discuss heady topics like religion and philosophy and cosmology and math and astrology and all that stuff. She, as the goddess of writing, all forms of writing, it included accounting and auditing. That was the record-keeping part of what she did. According to one myth, it was actually Seshat. She's the one who invented. Oh, other way around. Sorry. Yeah, no, I said that. Invented writing, and it was Thoth that carried it forward. She, let's see. She also, all of the earthly libraries that she collected for mortals were mirrored and collected in the celestial house of life in the heavens. And there, all these texts were given kind of immortality, so that if you served her and if you pleased her, scribes could earn themselves kind of a form of immortality if Seshat agreed to retain them in the celestial house of life, which is kind of cool. Let's see. I love this too. Egyptians, I guess, in general, saw writing as a form of magic, which in some ways really continues to this day. We talk about writing down your goals and your dreams and your affirmations. They believe that if something could be created in the form of the written word, it could also manifest in the world through the word. And so the word was like a medium between, a pathway between your thoughts and your dreams and your desires and the actual manifestation of them. And I've often said that to clients, that the first step to manifesting something is to get it out of your head and onto paper. Even using, writing, not typing, because there's something about that very visceral sensory thing of putting pen to paper, which I hope always is retained. So it also meant that she was the one who tallied the passage of years, and as I said, you could see. Oh, and actually, you see this. This is an actual frieze that shows something similar, either a palm frond or a stylus in her hand, and she's keeping track of the years that have passed. See the notches on the longer stick that she's got there, and part of what that meant is that she would mark the time and the length of the pharaoh's rule, because there was a big lavish celebration that happened whenever it's called the Sed festivals, and they commemorated 30 years of a pharaoh's rule, and it became and so anybody involved with kind of tracking that was really raised up as a deity, even though they haven't been able to find temples and such to her. Apparently she still played a pretty big role in all this. They would then, once they had ruled for 30 years, they would then be held every 3 or 4 years to continue to show that the ruler was still around and had the favor of the gods, as they got older. She was also known as the mistress of the House of Architects, and there was a ritual that she participated in called the Shesh, the stretching of the cord, which was a foundation ritual where when they were building the stone buildings, the cord referred to the mason's line that was used to measure out the dimensions of the building. So yet another example of how she kept records, but also kept things in line, literally. And then finally, she served, and I've always loved this word when I first learned it years ago, she served as a psychopomp. That means a deity, a being that can travel without hindrance between the mortal world and the underworld. And because of that, as the keeper of the books, she also managed all the funeral texts that were central to the Egyptian religion. I mean, we know about mummies. We know about all the ways that their death rituals were so key and important in their civilization. And this I loved. Seshat could assist the newly dead in interpreting, and I mentioned this, the spells written down in their own Book of the Dead, and especially because they were kind of unique to them. And then she helped them navigate safely through the underworld passage and into the afterlife. Let's see. I just lost all my notes here. There we go. It's interesting. She's. Oh, I hadn't mentioned this. You can't really see it so much. You can see it a little bit in the frieze, but you can really see it in the color depiction. In addition to this cannabis headdress, she's also typically depicted in leopard skin, which was, and leopard was something that was worn by the priests, by royalty, and particularly by the funeral priests in Egypt. So she had many functions. It's kind of interesting that, you know me. I know a ton of goddesses and representations of the divine feminine, and I love talking about how we can find relevance about them today. mostly in the symbolic, metaphorical way. So, there's all kinds of goddesses. Sarasvati comes to mind, but also Seshat. If you, my mom's air conditioning unit just went on. I hope that's not interfering. You can call on Seshat if you are sitting down to write something meaningful, or if you're creating a foundation. Remember that the cords that were used, the mason cords that were used to build, in the building of big, beautiful buildings. So many connections to her, and ways that we can draw on her energy, on her, on the metaphors that really we can carry with us into kind of modern times. So I invite you to do a little bit of exploring on your own. As always, this will go up on my YouTube channel on Thursday, with much more of the description and the resources, the links to some of the resources that I found that talk about Seshat. So enjoy, and call on her. Run off now that she's fresh in your mind, and ask for her guidance, for her support in some brilliant piece of writing that you need to do. Thanks so much for joining me, and I will see you next time.